mentioned something interesting, that there was sightings previous to the ones that we know about. So I know, like, Linda Scarberry and the group that she was with in the car, they saw it a couple of days after some grave diggers had reported something similar. Was there something even before that?
Oh yeah. We have sightings going all the way back to the World War I era.
Oh wow.
And I got to give credit. That's credit on that to Mark Hall and Lauren Coleman, actually, because they've written about a book that was actually around. It was one of those university books, and now that I'm talking about it, I cannot remember the name of the book, but it basically talked about folklore in the Ohio Valley. And one of the stories was about giant birds seen around Point Pleasant preceding a disaster or a tragedy.
Oh.
And this was back around the World War I era. So that's, I mean, if you want to draw in that, obviously that's a really unique. I don't know that you would make that correlation if it wasn't for the fact that it's literally talking about Point Pleasant and people seeing birds before tragedy.
Well, and also, the fact that it's a harbinger, because that's, the big thing with Mothman is that that's what it came to be known as. So it's not like just walking into the woods and encountering, some of these other cryptid creatures that you might see out there. This when you have a sighting of Mothman, it means something. It means something bad's coming.
Sure. I mean, it just depends too, though, because this is why I love the case so much. I spoke with one. There were two firemen that claimed to have seen. They're frequently referred to as Mothman witnesses, but they didn't see Mothman. I spoke to one of them, and I cannot remember which one now. It was either Paul Yoder or Benjamin Enoch, but they were volunteer firemen. And they were in the TNT factory area either the day or 2 days after the Scarberry sighting, and they claimed that they encountered a massive creature. And when I spoke to him on the phone, he flat out told me it was just a big owl. He told me that one of the things that happened with that case is that the local media just started blowing up any story they could. So they heard about the Enoch's Yoder story through someone else, and then they interviewed them about it. And before those guys knew it, they were being written about as having had a sighting of the Mothman. And when you talk about, there were also these pilots at the Gallipolis Airport across the river from Point Pleasant who claimed to have seen a massive bird that they originally thought was an airplane. They thought it was an airplane coming in for a landing. They said it had at least a 4-foot long neck and this massive beak, and the way they talked about it, it sounded more like a pterodactyl. So that's one of the really fascinating things to me is how many different descriptions of the Mothman there are, because then you obviously also have the man-like bird that you typically connect with the Scarberry mallet sighting, although that, when you're talking about a man-like bird, they also said it had no head and its eyes were kind of in the center of its chest, which doesn't sound like any men I know. But
right.
It's really unique. It's a really unique case in that way.
And just for those who aren't familiar with the story, where we've been talking about the Silver Bridge as well, and the connection is that it was what 13 months to the day. Yeah. After the Scarberry mallet sighting, that this bridge collapsed, and that led to people thinking that Mothman was the harbinger of that happening, that he was appearing to be a warning of that. But I mean, you have 13 months between this initial kind of sighting and that actually happening. What was going on in the in between?
That's when we're talking to the people we're interviewing for our movie, the thing we're hearing pretty often from witnesses and from, we spoke with a reporter last week named Dave Payton, who was working in the newsroom at the Herald Dispatch in Charleston at the time, and he took a lot of phone calls about UFO sightings. And what they're all kind of saying is it seemed like there was a pattern of escalation. Like everything was kind of spiraling towards something. It's just that no one knew what it was going to be. So you did have whatever the events were, it just felt like things were getting weirder and weirder. So you've got the Mothman sightings, which are pretty weird to begin with. And before those, you'd had UFO sightings, but the two start to coincide, and you've got people seeing, more and more UFO sightings starting to come in while the Mothman sightings are coming in. And then you start having things like the Men in Black sightings. And the Men in Black sightings are bizarre and when I say sightings, interactions would probably be a better term for it. And obviously, guys like Nick Redfern have written extensively about Men in Black, and I'm a total novice when it comes to talking about the Men in Black stuff. All I know is what I'm hearing, when I go to Point Pleasant and I speak to witnesses or reporters or whoever. But I do know Connie Carpenter, who was connected to the Mothman case because she had seen the Mothman in broad daylight just a few days after the initial Scarberry Mallet sightings. She was outside of her home, I believe, and a Mothman, a Men in Black, an MIB pulled up and actually attempted to kind of grab her and pull her into his car. So the sightings or interactions with the Men in Black were kind of running the gamut from terrifying to just flat out bizarre.
Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure that you check us out every Saturday night live at 10 p.m. Make sure to hit that subscribe button too.